Hello, welcome everybody to the Evolving Practice Podcast. I'm Dr. Bill Moss, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sean Carey. Thank you for joining us again. We're so excited to be with you.
And we're looking forward to diving into this topic on the episode today. We have gone into many topics as chiropractors, energy healers. You've heard us talk about many different means and modalities, but today we're going to focus in on one of the first energetic healings that we recommend when working with a client. And also for myself, it was one of the first energy healing I had ever personally received, and that is the life activation. So, we're going to go into all things surrounding the life activation. What is it? Why can somebody benefit? What are some of the results for ourselves and others? And kind of the nuts and bolts of why this is so amazing as a healing session, and really what people can expect, because people who are looking to go deeper in their healing journey, this is such a powerful tool to do so. We've both seen that in our own lives, and we're excited to express the potentials of what it can bring for you and those that you know.
Yeah. This is probably the first thing that always comes to mind for people in terms of recommending something in terms of energy healing, especially if it's something where somebody just we're going to have one session with somebody.
Mm.
This is always the recommendation. And the reason is because it's just so impactful on so many layers of energetic structure.
Mhm.
And it's not a healing that Dr. Bill or myself originated by any means. It's something that is thousands of years old. It's a modality that goes all the way back to King Solomon, who is known as the wisest king in the Bible. And this modality is basically a way to help bring divinity, that higher spiritual light, into the person's energetic structure,
Mm.
while they're in physicality.
Mm.
Meaning that we don't have to wait till we go in and pass away to really have a deeper connection with spirit. We can
Mm.
actually anchor those higher frequencies of spiritual light into the physical now. And that's what this modality is all about.
Yeah. Yeah, like, what's that even mean? No, the funny thing is I received my life activation from you, and though I've shared the story in one of our first episodes, I want to touch base on the fact that, like, I probably would have never done this healing session had it not been from you and recommended by you. And the reality is, I think the start of it, most people actually don't need a lot of information to make the decision to do the life activation. And I almost find that people who lean on their intuition, and when they hear it, they're like, oh, I don't know exactly what that is, but I want to do it, and that sounds right up my alley. And I know I had that experience. You kind of introduced the idea, like, hey, we're going to be in a conference together in Denver. You should do the life activation. I think it would be really helpful for you. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll do it. Let's do this. And I remember you said a few things, because we're going to talk about what kind of happens for people and what can unfold. I remember you saying, "Hey, Bill, you're kind of being prepped to do more teaching in the chiropractic profession, and people are going to like see and experience and feel more of your light coming through, and you're going to be able to carry more light for the people that support you." And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about exactly, but that sounds nice. And now as things have unfolded, I understand what that actually means, and I saw it shortly thereafter in the life activation. So, let's talk maybe about how people know they're ready for this healing modality, and how to get started. Like, what's a good reason to do this?
Oh, that's a great question. There are so many different great reasons to do it. It's one of the reasons I love this modality is because no matter where somebody is, it's really, really supportive.
Mhm.
So if somebody is stuck, I mean, this is a great modality to bring in some outside energy, outside
Mhm.
support, and create hope,
Mhm.
as well as clear the pathways where energy can get stuck and things get kind of blocked.
Mhm.
But also, like when somebody's ready to, maybe they're not stuck, but they're wanting to take things to a higher level in their life.
Mhm.
They, like when we did it, you were in a great place,
Mm.
and you were like, I really want to. You were wanting to take that further. And the
Yeah.
life activation is something where we can increase the amount of spiritual energy that somebody has access to, so
Mhm.
that they can really progress even faster in the things that are going well. I think sometimes people like occasionally people are kind of afraid to do it. because it is just like a lot of energy. It creates a shift,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that it's literally bringing in positivity and hope into the core aspects of your structure. So
Yeah.
there's not really any good reasons to wait on it. I have many clients that I've done it with that have been like, "Oh, I wish I did this sooner," and
Mm-hmm.
myself included. Like, I wish I had done this when I first heard about it, because there's probably like 4 or 5 months of needless suffering, where if I had had this boost like earlier, it would have helped me through the stuff that I was kind of stuck in.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I had the same experience for this. Now, many other parts of my progression were stalled, if you will, along the way. But the first time I had ever heard of it was you introducing it to me. And the one thing I feel like there's a readiness in the sense that most people, when they come to this session, they're at a natural crossroads in their life. And that can be an internal one or an external one, something that's very tangible. Like, I'm at a roadblock in my career. I'm at a roadblock in this relationship. At a roadblock in an aspect of my life. And there's almost like this prime feeling of like, I need to do something about it. Whether that's a feeling, a function, or something people are carrying, I feel like that's a pretty consistent place where people are, not like you said in a bad way. I was very much doing some new things and explore. I had some opportunities unfolding in front of me, and the life activation really helped me bring out my gifts to utilize within
Yes.
those situations. And I see that time and time again. Like, everyone who works for me uh, was life activated and ended up like leaving their career kind of and choosing a new one. And that's something I see very, very often, because there's this internal, I'm ready for more
Yeah.
kind of sensation that's occurring. And with the life activation, energetically, people's pathways are cleared, and they're, a lot of the times the doorways for more start to unfold before their eyes.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. And another way I often like another story I often use to describe it is that in life we have this like divine blueprint
Mm,
of our life, of how things can be. It's like our highest blueprint of what's available
mhm.
for us.
Yeah.
And so often in life, it's like we're going through life, and it's kind of like that blueprint has like fallen into the mud. It's been run over a few times. There's been some parts that have been like kind of ripped off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've like oftentimes people have been through the muck, and things may make them on even a soul level kind of question question their path, question maybe the goodness of life or what they're capable of, or these different
Mm,
things.
mhm.
Energetically, I think the life activation is very much a reset and helping a re-optimize somebody to be on that path of their original divine blueprint. It's kind
Mm,
of my belief that there's like this one highest path that we all have the option to take as far as like our own unique life.
yeah.
And we can deviate a bit, but then it's no longer our highest path. And this
Mm,
helps you to reconnect to your highest path. And part of
mm,
that is also your highest flow. And something that often happens when people get this is their life starts flowing again in a much smoother way. Like
mm,
opportunities are coming. There might be shifts, changes in different things, but it
mhm.
opens up new doorways of potential for them. Those
Mhm.
doorways that are on the path of their highest good.
Mm, yeah. That's really great. I mean, that's with I kind of almost like show people the two aspects of how this can work, and why it's important. And it's different than other healing work. And I think this is a good part to kind of talk about that. And maybe I'll just do it with the prompted question and elaborate. But
Yeah.
sometimes people ask like, well, how is this different than Reiki, or how is this different than other energetic healing?
Yeah.
Would you like to elaborate on that? And then I can kind of fill in what I say.
Yeah.
But it's a great question, because a lot of people have done other healing work, and they're
Yeah.
like, how is this different than the healing work that I've done before?
It's a really deep question. First, let me just say it's very different. Um, uh, like even if you've had other things, a lot of people do by the time they
Yeah.
actually come to this work.
Hmm.
It is a very different modality. It's extremely powerful. It's thousands of years old,
Mm.
and it's based on lineage. It's not something that I made up or Dr. Bill made up. It's something that
No.
goes back
Thank
thousands
God.
of years. Yeah, and has worked for hundreds of thousands of people. So it's not something that people have necessarily heard a lot about, but
Mhm.
that doesn't take away from the effectiveness. This is an incredibly effective and powerful
Yeah.
modality, and you
Yeah.
can't just like swap out Reiki and have it be doing the same thing. Like it's
Yeah.
not. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
How would you answer that?
Yeah, I also like to say, there's a lot of healings that we have that are for specific purposes. And let's say,
Yeah.
somebody's overly emotional, or they're trying to heal a core issue in their life, or they're trying to have more balance and flow. And life activation can give those things to somebody, but it's really about what it does to help somebody express who they are. So it works on, it used to be called the DNA activation, and DNA is like a blueprint that if um you know we know a lot more about DNA, and the fact that, like, you're not just bound by it. It's an expression based on the environment. So from a
Yeah.
spiritual aspect, our DNA is connected to our purpose. So I always say this is different in the sense that when you're life activated, most people start to move more in a direction that's more in alignment with their purpose. If they're already going in that direction, the flow tends to feel even more natural and more familiar. If you're going in a direction that's completely, like, off course from that purpose, sometimes that turning around is requires more energy and awareness and resistance. And so I say it tends to bring out this aspect of our purpose. And the other part is it starts to allow us to exhibit our unique individual gifts. So it's more in the application of this session that it helps us unfold more of who we truly are, as opposed to, "Oh, I'm going through this thing in my life and I want you to help
Yeah.
me heal it." So I like that aspect to kind of differentiate a little bit of an activation has a specific purpose that it's for, as opposed to simply, this is what's coming up in my life and therefore I need this to progress.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of saying it. It's also kind of like, realigning somebody with their true north, I
Mm,
I think,
yeah.
where it's just like they just start moving in a direction where things are smoother.
Mm,
And if you've been off course, like, if you're kinda stuck in the weeds in life,
mm,
the faster you can get redirected, the better. Like,
mhm,
when you're in the weeds, and you just keep kinda walking in the wrong direction, maybe you're, trying to find your path and you're just struggling, like, that's the perfect time to get redirected. You don't need to keep getting lost.
mhm,
And I love this for people who are younger too. This is a modality. It's great for people who are older. It's great for people who are
mhm,
younger. But if I have, like a teenager, I really especially love this because I feel like it helps shorten that questioning of who they are and where they're supposed to be in a way
mhm,
that's good. Like sometimes it's
mhm,
almost like you can just kind of get stuck in that,
mhm.
and it feels like they don't have to try to find so many different things that don't fit. Like, they
Yeah.
have more of that natural intuition of like, "Oh, this is what I wanna do, where I wanna go."
Mhm. Yeah, and the world's so mental, so it provides such a refreshing reprieve from, like, the psychological understanding of who we are that many are bombarded with um, from a younger age. So I've actually worked with a lot of teenagers as well, with the life activation, and I think it's like a breath of fresh air. And I believe I would have done really well with it had I received it at a young age, because I was very sensitive. I don't think that sensitivity was put into words, or I didn't walk around with it as a badge of honor or a verbal expression of, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sensitive. I've experienced the world in this way." But I think there was a lot of sensitivity as far as energy was concerned that really a lot kind of kept me from expressing myself. And I feel like with this work on a path has helped me, be bold and overcome that internal nature of who I am and kind of step into new ground. So it definitely helps people move and shift. And I love seeing young people, because it's like you said at the beginning, like, you avoided it for 4 or 5 months and some
Yeah,
needless suffering. When we feel more at home in ourselves and in our environment, I feel like that's a great way to describe this. Like, it helps people feel more at home in their
yeah.
existence, you know?
Yeah, and that's and not just on, like, a physical, emotional level either, like, on a
Right.
deep soul level that beyond words. That's
Mhm.
probably what got me, like, when I first did the life activation, I didn't really have words for how I felt about it. Like, honestly, I thought it was a bit strange. It was, way outside my comfort zone then.
Yeah.
I hadn't really done any types of energy healing or anything like that before, and I was skeptical. I was super mental back then,
Yeah.
and Like when
Which
I
is,
share
can I
that.
just say, is so funny to hear because, like, you're one of the people that just runs now, and, like, you always push people to, like, run on the path, and to hear, like, you are mental or skeptical of this thing is just hilarious because when I met you, you were, like, completely all about it, and I definitely was too, and the funny thing is when I started doing this work, I was like, "How am I gonna get anyone to do this?" But meanwhile, it was like we were together working on helping so many people get life
Yeah.
activated.
Yeah. Yeah, we did a ton, and it was because of, when you have something really good to share with people, like, there's something that, and we're this way with chiropractic too, like, we've helped
Yeah,
so many people with chiropractic that, it's something that when you see people who it could benefit, you just wanna share that.
yeah,
And with this, for me, there was this feeling in my soul of, like, I don't know what that was, but something really good happened. Like,
yeah,
something really, really good happened. I no words for it, doesn't make sense in my mind, but I could feel a shift within my being, and, like, it was just very profound, and then I sent my brother to Jordan. He had an incredible experience. I sent different people to the person who did life activation for me, and it was, like, it was one of those things where I wasn't sure if it was gonna be a fluke, like, it was just
mm,
I was just that person who had a good response. I thought that way with chiropractic too initially. I
mm,
ended up doing an internship with a chiropractor who got me into, chiropractic, 'cause it was like, I wasn't sure if I was just one of those, like, cases, like, off to the edge of the spectrum that thrived with it. I
yeah,
wanted to see that, like, it would be helpful to a lot of people.
mm,
And with the life activation, I saw so many people who were close to me,
mm,
have really incredible responses.
mm,
And eventually that led to me wanting to learn to do it for other people. It was almost like more of a moral obligation, if you will.
yeah. You know you know what's I just wanna share this one
Yeah.
story. I mean, there's so we could probably just have an episode about, like, life activation stories and
Mhm.
how they unfold because and sometimes we don't get the feedback of what happens for people, but so
Yeah.
I had somebody book in, it was over Christmas break last year. I never met this person, they weren't referred to me. They literally were searching, found something, and they went online, they went through it, and they booked, like, the second to last day of the year. I didn't even have, like, a phone consultation before, they just showed up at the time, and I always like let people know what's going to happen and I
Yeah.
ask them why they decided to do this. And this girl was kind of like, I'm not sure why I decided to do this, but I'm going through something and it felt like this was what I should do. And she was very quiet, not a lot of words. We do a hug because that's what we do at the beginning of life
Yeah.
activation, hug a
Yeah.
client. And it was like this like ass out hug, like kind of looking away, felt her and I do this session for her, and at the end, she opens her eyes, kind of comes out of it, and she was like, "I can't. Oh my god, that was like I've never experienced anything like that. I'm so sorry. I like gave the worst hug. I was like, what am I getting into? Like, I don't even know." And that was like, she's like, "I just feel clean. I feel refreshed. Like, what the heck was this?" And she was a different immediately like her just she unfolded and was like, I need to know more about this. And it was very interesting for me because it was like this whole interaction that didn't involve that many words.
Yeah.
She didn't even come into there based on like words. It was just kind of following some intuition that she wasn't even really in contact with. And afterwards it was one of like the most um profound experiences expressed in that moment. And I was like, wow, this is there's something to this.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for 5 years now, almost six. Mm,
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Like, I always look forward to doing these sessions with people because it is, like, if I could do this session on people, like, if I could just pick one, like, I only had
yeah,
access to one healing, this would be it.
yeah,
Because it really, really shifts people, and yeah, people, feel more hopeful, they feel
mm,
brighter, they sometimes people, like, start dreaming again, like, they
mhm,
have more of an inner direction for their life,
mhm, yeah,
more positivity, and it just energetically what it's doing when we do the session, it's balancing so many different aspects of your energetic structure. It's, connecting you with different sacred symbols and angelic and divine energy. It's balancing many layers, clearing many layers,
mm,
before we even actually work on the spiritual DNA, which
Yeah.
is like the last portion of the activation. And so it's just like it really brings people into a state of balance, into a state of harmony and higher positivity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so good. And one of the things I always remind people when they do the session is because some people are very focused on what's the feeling I'm going to have during this thing and how am I going to
Yeah,
feel going forward. And I know you felt very different, like
yeah,
but I've seen a lot of people that don't feel different after
yeah,
this session. In fact, some people who aren't sensitive to energy a lot of times don't notice that many things. But what I always recommend they do is like have a check-in after a week, after a month, after 3
yeah,
months, and I can almost guarantee if somebody looks back on the year after they received life activation, their life is very
yeah,
different from the relationships they have to the new ones they've made to the career decisions and work related direction to the way they're experiencing their family. There's just so much newness unfolds over that time. And how are you doing it? It's like the way of you becomes very different. And
yeah.
I definitely noticed that. And as I do life activations, it's fascinating to me. As I do them, my first experience keeps coming back to me more and more
Mm.
of that first one when you life activated me back in 2016.
It's so funny because like I don't really remember it so well, and part of the life activation at the end is like there's a reading that we do. So like
Yeah.
you're remembering these things as part of the reading, but to me it's just like I don't hold on to that for very long.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I didn't remember much at all. I just remember like my mind was clear. A lot of times people say like I couldn't think about something negative during
yeah,
that whole session. I hear that a lot. They're like, I just I couldn't worry. I couldn't my mind seemed protected almost. And I remember like I thought I was trained in transcendental meditation when you did it. And I thought I was going to just like be in the moment, meditate, just be but I couldn't even do that. I remember just experiencing what was going on and being
yeah,
very present and experiencing it and feeling different sensations and such. But I remember the direction I was sitting. I remember what the room looked like. I knew and it's very like that whole day now. I remember the whole day. And I remember because we got to a conference and then at night I was experiencing the conference and I noticed the way I was talking to people, the way I was interacting with people, the
yeah.
way people were attracted to me, like things were different. They were definitely different. Um, and I'll never forget that day now. So,
I remember like I don't remember doing yours so much, but I do remember when I received mine the first time too. I vividly remember the next day and the experiences of how different things were for me, and
mm,
this feeling of like I don't know what happened, but that felt really good. I want more of that feeling.
yeah. Yeah, I remember, like, feeling like there was a line drawn on my life and, like, nothing was gonna be completely the same thereafter.
Yeah,
Like, I couldn't express that outwardly, like, "This is what I'm feeling," but I
yeah,
remember just being like, "My life's gonna be different now," and
yeah,
walking around with what I don't know what that difference is. So, I mean, it's funny having this conversation, it's like, I want to help more people do this because it's a very grounding session, and that's
yeah,
what I notice is people that make it to this session are often not they're often looking to live into their life more fully,
yeah,
not avoid it anymore. If
yeah,
you wanna avoid life more, this isn't gonna be a thing that you end up, like, doing or or connecting
yeah,
with, so I guess my
yeah.
cat wants to join this up.
I No, it's a great session to help connect you more with the present moment, and yeah, so often we don't realize our energy body is something that we just aren't so familiar with. And at times our energy is really scattered and we don't realize how much it's affecting our mind, our emotions, the thoughts about our life. So bring these not only into balance, but bring them into a state of harmony, balance, and getting everything charged up with spiritual light. It
Mhm.
has a huge effect on the mind, the emotions, and our overall like feelings about our life and who we are and where we're going.
Mm. I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's such a great session and it's still probably my favorite one. The more ways we have to help people, it's still one of my favorite things. It's kind of like the first adjustment in chiropractic. Oh, I
Yeah,
love the first adjustment
me
with
too.
a client
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's just can be like eye-opening, right? It's almost
yeah,
like you can see in color You've been seeing in black and white, and then you start to see in color. And this is very similar. And my staff at this point, there's a lot of clients I get in the healing world that did
Yeah.
come through the chiropractic practice at this point. When I first started, that wasn't as much the case, but my staff loves to see somebody when they know that they were life activated come back through the office the first time,
Yeah.
because there is a distinct look and glow and difference, even
Yeah.
physically, in their eyes, in their
Yeah.
face, in their expression. Like they can see it now,
Yeah.
because it keeps happening over and over again.
Yeah, it's the same way in my office too.
Mhm.
And it's something that's like sometimes it's people that you wouldn't even expect to be interested in it, and
Yeah.
they do it, and there's just there's this like kind of energetic weight lifted off, and they feel more refreshed and
Mhm.
revitalized.
Mhm.
It's really beautiful to see, and that my favorite part is seeing the after effects for people because when we talk about an activation, it's really about a turning on of different structures and getting them
Mhm.
moving in the right direction for somebody.
Yeah.
So oftentimes the 6 months after are like it's way more profound than would
Oh,
actually happen during those two
yeah.
hours or whatever it was.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why it's neat to see what unfolds. And I could tell story after story. Everyone who works for me, like I said, they were in like a long-term career and they decided to leave. Like Caitlin, who's my assistant, she's kind of like my number one for everything in both of my practices and all my world of work. And she was a teacher and she got life activated and basically like after about a year, she's like, I can't do this anymore. I got to find a different way. And her husband was like, why don't you ask Bill, like if he needs help or has a position or something?
Yeah,
And basically at that point, it was like the agreement of what she was doing wasn't working anymore. And now, she's helping basically like serve through my practice. And she's a life activation practitioner as well now. So it's
that's
funny to see how like far that's come. And Cindy, who worked for me, she was 25 years in a business manager of a salon, and she got life activated. And it was like within a year, she's like, I can't work in this environment anymore. I got to do something different. Can I come work for you? Like, it's
yeah,
all these, and that's it's just so the story goes. Lindsay, who works for me, same thing. One of my initiates met her and was like, you should talk to Bill about healing. Wait, he might need some help working with you. And it was just like bam bam. And then you know life unfolds for them, and it's been pretty big ever since.
yeah. It really reconnects the person to the like to their soul too.
Hmm.
Because so often it's like we might be in situations in life where they're kind of soulless for us,
Hmm.
like or it's
Yeah.
just not what the soul is desiring to be in stuck in a position or job that's not fulfilling the needs of the soul.
Yeah.
So yeah, this can really like help people be like, oh, you know what, like my soul isn't happy. I actually have to listen to that,
Yeah.
and so that they actually make the change that will fulfill them and be in their highest good.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's awesome, and people should definitely try getting life activated. And
Yeah,
this episode, it's like there's people that do this all over the place. So we can, like you said, it comes from lineage. It's not Sean or Bill's modality or our personality aren't driving the success and results of this. That's
yeah,
not how it works. But there's people all over the world. In fact, I had a client, I did a podcast with my friend Justin, who is, Growth Now Movement podcast you could listen to. He's a professional podcaster, but I was on his podcast. Somebody heard me in the UK. They happened to be a chiropractor as well. But they wanted to ask me about life activation and where to get it. So we
yeah.
know people all over the world that do this modality. And, with this episode, this is meant for our current clients, people who are interested in energetic healing. If you want to work with us, obviously that's easier. You can contact us through the podcast or our Instagram, the Evolving Pod. What is it? The Evolving Practice
Oh, the
Pod.
practice part, yeah.
So funny. Um, yeah. But we can help find people all over the world for people who want to experience the life activation.
Yeah, and there's a website you can go to,
Hmm.
depending on where you are. It's
Sure.
modernmysteryschoolint.com, and then somewhere at the tab, I believe there's like find a practitioner or,
Yeah.
or, or or connect with us. Then like find a practitioner pops down, and you'll see in many different countries and places and cities. There's life activation practitioners who all went through the same training.
Yeah.
And one final thing I just want to say about this is that, sometimes we make things a bigger deal than they need to be. And
Hmm.
my recommendation would be just try it.
Oh yeah.
It's not like a chiropractic adjustment where you need a certain frequency
Mhm.
with these. Like,
That's good.
do this, yeah, see how you feel, see if you like it. If you do like it, there's more we can share with you. But do this thing. Like, it's a really cool experience to have. Like, at least once in your life. This
Mhm.
is a cool experience. It's something you'll remember as
Mhm.
both you and I do. So
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any reason not to do it. And if it's not
Yeah.
your thing, I think that's totally okay.
Totally okay.
But give it
Yeah.
a try.
100%. 100%. So yeah, that's a good point. Some people are like, how often do I have to do this? And it's like the big difference is you've never done it. Now we're doing it. And that's it. There's plenty of other things to do down the line. You can always get it again. But the big impact is on that first one for sure.
Yeah. Awesome.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to sharing more about the healing journey from the perspective of a healer, but also if you're looking for healing work. We are so glad that you've been following us, subscribe, like, and rate and review for us. It really helps. We've had a great success over the last 6 months and 20 some episodes, and we are so grateful for the community that we've already built and will continue to build. So please share, and we look forward to growing with you.
Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.